Cool. So we are live and back with our Saturday campfire, as Mario as Mario mentions it, with Hicket Nunk. We have Mario, we have Rafael, we have Rare Skrilla, and we have Unblock Gallery. So thank you all so much for being here. And as I mentioned before, the topic of today, which is the most discussed topic of the week or the last couple of weeks, is HDAO. So I think I'll hand it on to Rafael because we kind of just started speaking about it whilst we were offline. So maybe Rafael, you want to introduce the topic and just tell a little bit about what you're thinking or what your thoughts are potentially around HDAO, and then everybody can chime in and join in as wanted.
Yes, sure. When I was developing the smart contracts for the platform, there is the swap protocol, and there is the HDAO also that was distributed on the beginning for the people who were using the platform. And the idea was like to distribute half for the buyer, half for the artist, and a bit for the platform. And the idea was actually for it to be continuous. It would be something that is the market. There would be too many HDAO, right? So we had to do something else. We have to benefit somehow early adopters, as this sort of thoughts. And well, it's interesting because many people introduce token economics to their applications on blockchain, and HDAO has some utilities right now related to upvoting. Like today, we have added tags, and the idea is basically you can upvote artwork, and it should appear, it should have a priority of discovery, on tags, for example. But the thing is, right now we are discussing many things. There are many possibilities actually that came from HDAO. This was a first version, and other versions are possible. But the thing is actually that at the same time, it benefits early adopters, but I think we have to think how this can indeed work in Hackathon a bit wider, because I feel that it can be a storage of value also, despite of being something like a upvote. For example, like people have this practice of there are some terms on crypto like yield farming, or you can farm a token. If you have a token, you can farm another token. I'm sorry. So the idea would be there is this possibility of creating new tokens for farming, and creating new interactions also. For example, I believe Pack did this, right? You would burn an NFT and you would generate a token, right? And this sort of interactions. So here now, I've been thinking on having it as a main token for some of these interactions. For example, and another thing actually that I would like to mention related to HDAO is because, like, okay, decentralized autonomous organizations, what are these, right? For example, contributors. Which laboratories should we focus on the development? I'm a bit of a. I like to. I don't know if I like to have a sort of Bayesian reason, like you infer some directions, based on probability. You see things, you you have intuitions, etc., and you know directions somehow. But some directions I see that would be interesting for HDAO to support. And of course, everybody who holds HDAO uh, can do it by independent means, but the idea is to build a common framework around it. But I see this like, okay, we could direct, for example, HDAOs for specific laboratories which needs to be developed. For example, Object Zone, which is an application for a metaverse, that is being developed by Ian, Petrarca, and Christopher. They're trying to build like a metaverse and loading 3D objects from Hiketnunk. So there are some efforts in this sense, like that. I believe that the HDAO would need to direct their attentions and efforts to support this. There are other questionings that people made about HDAO holders. They could receive 2.5% of the platform income. This is another possibility, but I don't see it as a. It is a economic interest, a new economic interest for HDAO, but but maybe I don't know, maybe other token farming possibilities are more interesting, or we have to do some calculations, right, before doing this, because like 2.5% for managing the platform is something that is like there is infrastructure, etc. So I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to bring this to HDAO. Maybe it's interesting to think of it in this sense of like how to build other how to reproduce organizations systems for like laboratories which want to inhabit the blockchain space, the crypto space. Like people want to do research and want to have fundings on crypto and want to develop crypto related stuff. So this should be actually a welcoming tool for it. There are some other things like the galleries, right? We had this update this week, and maybe it is not a decentralized solution, but it is a communicational solution, I believe, like how to bring references for people to, and how to bring some content. We are really trying to think about it, like how to build publishings and share references. But like gallery, yes, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh yes, Kusha asked something like, is that working on tags already? No, it is not. Like we have to merge those informations still on the API for it to work. But for example, galleries, it would be interesting also to have like this model being like many functionalities. Like we could charge HDAOs also for like setting alias or setting galleries, and because like there are many autonomous efforts coming. Like I was reading these days, there are many early adopters who are interested also in bringing some galleries and also supporting some institutions. Like I was reading some people like Reyes talking about Processing Foundation and how it would be interesting to like artists to donate their NFTs and share their incomes
So I think on this concept that you're talking about the galleries, there's actually Unblock Gallery here, which I think you're doing something similar, right? Like you're building DAOs for galleries. Am I correct in saying this?
Hello everyone. No, we are more high concept on that. We are working on DAO in another projects, but in the Unblock Gallery, we are working much more in the artist's perspective in the projects, but we can talk about DAOs because my personal perspective. So I'm in work in blockchain since 2016, and I had the opportunity to see the beginning and the end of the first DAO experiment, do it to a hack in Ethereum. So it's a pleasure to be here and listen to different point of views and the perspective of the future of HDAO. Also, I'm really a big fan from Quasimodo since I was kid. So thank you a lot for the opportunity to be here. Our vision, it's in the first layer, it's to leverage new and upcoming artists by offering a place to showcase their arts, co-creating projects together with artists, and then present the next level of packaging, using engineered ideas and also NFT as a tool, as a provenance. And then in a long-term perspective, it's creating a governance token in a really way to help us in the way to be the bridge in between the arts, the museum, the galleries. But I really want to focus in HDAO strategy, because for Unblock Gallery, it's really important to see a roadmap who you give all the governance for the community, for the artists, and you can vote in a common way about the fees, about the servers, about everything, about the strategy. So I really wish we can transfer all the governance for HDAO, and then we can focus how we will create a new metaverse to open another galleries inside another worlds. But the most important thing, who is the owner of Hic et Nunc? What means HDAO? Because the DAO means decentralized autonomous organization. So we are expect that, and we really believe we have a powerful tool and a powerful community to help to create a big leverage in the world of the art scene together with this token. So I really want to listen what the perspective in the roadmap to be fully decentralized as a platform use HDAO as a token to do that.
Anybody else who's so Rare, Skrilla, or Mario, like if you want to add anything, feel free to jump in.
Of course, I can share my point of view. I always like kind of concrete, doable things that are doable now or that hopefully don't take so long. Well, the first thing is that I see as the big elephant in the room is now that actually, like, because HDAO is now swappable, it has actually quite some value, as everybody noticed suddenly, and some people sold it off. So, of course, that value is there now because people are actually hoping that they will profit from HDAO in the near future. So, and I guess, like, of course, there's always something wake where it's like, just like we have this great growing community, but actually in the end right now, well, either people profit because the value goes further up, or, and I really like that idea, that everybody who's owner of the platform actually kind of participates in the money exchange that happens by actually paying out a dividend of that 2.5% platform fee. I don't think it should be 2.5% concrete. I would say, I don't know, there should probably be something like that. A part of that goes actually into the funds of the HDAO itself, which hopefully eventually pays for the whole server costs, because actually I have no idea how that runs now, but I guess Raphael has to actually pay for the server stuff and all the other costs. So ultimately, ideally, it should really be an autonomous kind of entity which pays for itself. Of course, there is kind of some administrative human still behind that has to do that connection. But so this 2.5 platform fee, so a big share of that should go to paying for the costs, and ideally also for something like a fund that then the community can decide upon by voting. So saying like, if Hic et Nunc community wants to support processing or some galleries, then there is always a certain amount of money that can be distributed by communal vote. But at the same time, in order to maintain the value, the monetary value of HDAO, I think some of that money should be paid out to, like, every month. There's simply like, if you own 1% of the HDAO shares, you get 1% of that 1% that Hic et Nunc made by like a part of that platform fee. That would be my dream, that ideally would be happening soon. So, because I mean, if that happens and it's actually concrete, that, well, I would expect that the HDAO value like explodes even further, and that way everybody who has HDAO will almost get like a monthly payment, which well, then they can buy more art or pay their rent from. So, and of course, me as like the 3% owner of HDAO, I'm totally interested in that. So full disclosure.
We love you, Cosmo. That's why. Wow.
So I don't know what Raphael thinks about that, if that's kind of doable, or like what would that entail, or if you're afraid of the early wash traders, which I hope have already sold out, or that kind of like, yeah, it seems like the overall distribution seems to be very, like, everybody who is not from Hic et Nunc looks at that distribution and says, wow, it's amazing, because there's nobody has a bigger share than 3%, so nobody can really take over. And I don't know. So would it be dangerous to do that, or would kind of suddenly be outvoted by like somebody gets 51% and moves all the money to some weird foundation or somewhere? I don't know. I have no idea how that works and how complicated it is to build this mechanism.
Well, Skrilla, do you have
I kind of agree with Mario. You know, go back, have a percentage of the HDAO go into the infrastructure and the server costs would be great. You know, having people that want to have like galleries up on a page or something, or features maybe. That way you could probably get more collectors, and people that are supporting artists would be more invested in the HDAO. And like, if you're talking about the metaverse, having that HDAO move over to the metaverse somehow, maybe award like the better lands early on and stuff. I don't know, get people active to having a reason to keep their HDAO. You could have different benefits on your page, maybe if you have a certain amount of HDAO. You know, maybe upload size for your artworks even could be greater or something. There's a number of things you could do.
The one important thing, yeah, right. So, I mean, the unfair part is, of course, that only those people who came in the first 44 days have HDAO now in a certain amount. So we have to always be careful with kind of like, what rights does it give you, and like, how expensive will HDAO be for other people to buy it in? So I would always think that anything community related, which gives extra features, should be not based on the like percentage you own, but in the end, like, all you need is to own one HDAO or something, and then you kind of say that you are part of the community, and that gives you whatever HDAO features. Of course, for the voting, it's something else, but I would just be careful that it's like, depending on how expensive HDAO will get, that you don't exclude people that just can't afford to kind of get whatever feature there is that is only HDAO enabled.
I think you have a point to consider, starting to you, Cosmo, because when Hic et Nunc goes to OpenSea and he receive the huge audience coming from Ethereum, the Hic et Nunc will be more prepared to scale more fast. Right now, I believe it's safe audience, and the server can run easily. And I think the community can help us to how we will decentralize. Otherwise, we need to invite another investor like Nifit did it before. So I think in a core of Hicket strategy, we need to know what the vision of Hicket strategy, and HDAO can be considered as a token to decentralize everything or no, because this changed for me everything in the discussion, because you can create a lot of brainstorming how to unblock and disblock that. But if Hicket it's the only really decentralized marketplace in this space, it's one type of conversation. Or if HDAO, it's just a curate on talk, it's another type of conversation. So I really want to know the opinion of Rafael about that.
Well, one strong opinion I have that I hope we don't get any investors. I don't want anybody paying for Hicket Nunc.
That's why, because if you run so fast,
no, but I mean, okay, so ideally I wanted the whole thing to just grow organically like everything has done before. So I don't want Hicket Nunc to be suddenly something which somebody owns and well, everything changes and suddenly weird rules are being made. So I mean, ideally it just continues like now and slowly whatever things emerge, but that's kind of what makes us special, right? That we are not a company in the classic sense.
Yes, so
we don't want to make profit even, right? We just want to keep this thing alive and keep it going. I don't think we have this typical interest that we need to, well, we only need money to keep the servers running, right?
How HDAO can help in the scale, because the scale will be more fast than ability to put everyone on board in the community to using HDAO to do that. So maybe instead of talking about the valuation of HDAO, we need to put some money there in HDAO to stake to using to pay the servers. So because the other platforms don't waiting for us. So OpenSea will implement that and everything will be implemented. So then they has much more audience than today. So
actually, I don't care. I mean, in the end, I don't care if they are bigger platforms or if they sell more. I don't know. I guess that's the beauty of it, that we just do this because we enjoy it and people coming and stuff gets sold, and then, well, some other platform comes along which has beautiful pictures. I don't know. So I don't know if this is the goal. Like, it's not my personal goal to kind of become the biggest platform or to. So in the end, I just want to keep this spirit going. And of course, the more people come, the more like art gets sold. But I always fear that there are certain measurements being made when a platform grows bigger, which kind of kills certain spirits. So in the end, I believe I would think that server costs scale linearly with the amount of data that is being added and how much traffic there is. So I hope the 2.5% or even less is enough to pay for these costs. And so that I have no idea. That's where I'm not the expert. If like suddenly there is 1 million users, but then there's also 1 million more kind of revenue being made. So the share that the platform made should hopefully be sufficient to pay for these costs. And we don't have a marketing department, and we hopefully never need one, and we don't have employees. And so, yeah, I mean, the question is, yes, is there some extra costs with support? Or yeah, that might be something, right? Where like you actually might have to have somebody or some people who take care for the technical infrastructure and get actually paid for it. So, but then the question is like, do the 2.5% suffice for that or not?
So, Rafael, like currently, is the 2.5% like used to, you know, cover the overhead costs, so servers, etc.?
Yes, there are many questions actually that are interesting there, because the percentage it can handle the servers, and we are scaling well. Like we are building a new database and stuff to make it faster, the experience. But for example, the development thing, it is something that also has to grow organically, I believe, in other teams also, like for example, marketing, as Mario mentioned, like we have to have also content being produced, and by the way that we want, there are things that we need to share, and how we're going to build these channels. And also that's why I keep saying about laboratories. So for example, development, this is something way more complex that I believe in. I don't know, and it would be interesting to have a sort of educational spirit, in the sense that we have to be patient, and we have to bring new developers, and in the long run. And okay, now regarding decentralization, the platform is decentralized, but it has some dangers in this, because, for example, anyone can mint, can attack the protocol. So the curation with HDAO is something interesting also for us to try to filter media, and so, for example, also these galleries that you were talking about, it's an interesting. We should have like these scaling strategies should be really flexible, like not only in the sense of like galleries, but also in the sense of having tools that would allow this decentralization. Like you can manage these assets in a more independent way than using the platform, right? Or we could for example, this metaverse thing. Now I'm gonna start talking about the cringe thing. Like there is this book, Capitalism, Platforms, from Nick Szabo, I believe. I'm not sure his name. Which he says about this, like, okay, platforms have some income, but maybe it can be overwhelmed. So we do have to look at other places and try experimental things, like with and that's I believe we go back to the farming tokens and stuff, because if we use HDAO to farm tokens, like it is already a specific distribution, right? No one has huge, like Hic-et-Nunc has some HDAOs, right? So they are stored, and they are like, I can't spend them, It is a public, I'm trying to see this as a public economic matter, people contribute, and I believe they deserve HDAO distributions. And there is this aspect of a social token also. It's interesting to think of it, because it can bring value, also for the token, because of the community. So people, for example, do efforts that can contribute to the ecosystem, like a metaverse, or some robot that creates random NFTs or something like that. So we have to. So it's interesting to support this, and that's why I try to imagine laboratories, because, for example, when I use Hic-et-Nunc, for example, I buy an NFT, or I distribute HDAOs, I usually see these people as creatives, as studios, somehow as independent studios, and I believe that they can use this income to generate something, and of course we have to help to how to bring this how to document all this production, you know, and because yes, the idea would be to move, try to move projects and this ability, you know, for people to develop their creative projects. There was something else I wanted to mention.
Hey, Raphael, what if some people that had HDAO that wanted to implement certain features to the platform could put up like you know, an amount of HDAO that you know, the community would vote on if they want to implement it now, like split contracts, so collaborations could happen easier, or you know, more supportive like music or interactive stuff in the space, and hire somebody they could take out of that HDAO pod or something. Would that be of interest?
Yes, for example, indeed, a governance question that HDAO could definitely vote would be this one. Like, we share the contracts, profits. Is that what you mean, or for collaborative works?
Yeah, you have that in the making, you said?
Yes. There is a small contract ready already, which splits. But I'm drawing it for it to interact with many other contracts. So the basic logic is ready for it to split. Like, you configure the split and it splits the payments. You know, you verify that all the splits are like correspondent to 100% of the value, and each address has like 20%, and 60%, and it divides, you know. So it is a really simple logic, but how we are going to use it with the other contracts, I'm trying to bring all together, because, for example, another feature is auctions, right? And other features would be these other like
unlockable content, maybe.
Yes, unlockable is a difficult one. I really
Offer
would
it.
like to see people voting it. But yes, like all these other experiments expanding Hic-et-Nunc, you know, because there are some strategies that obviously would bring expansion, like.
I think Raf here was asking about the Toxie's proposal. I don't know if you saw it, Raphael, but there was, we didn't speak about it yet, but there was this person who's called Carsten Schmidt, or Toxie on Twitter. And he basically tweeted about, which is kind of similar to the topics that we're talking about, but tweeted about, you know, it's great that a lot of artists are getting you know, paid, and there's this new creative economy around like all of the art that is being spread out. But what about like all of the people that are building all of these like platforms and ways for these artists to actually work and put up these animated GIFs or 3Ds or whatever, you know, you're creating and doing, which is kind of similar to what is being discussed here. And so how can you give back to, you know, all of the developers and the builders, basically, that are like building platforms and building these technologies, and you know, he goes on, but it's an interesting thread, and then talks about, you know, like splitting contracts and stuff like that, which it's potentially also what Rare Scrilla, you're saying, but maybe like also from like a technological bar development collaboration, like actually splitting contracts in a way that like the developer side of, and I don't know if I'm being utopic here, but like the developer side of Hic-et-Nunc can also have like their split in a way. I don't know if that's even possible, but potentially could be something that maybe HDAO could do.
Yeah, I mean, in some sense, like we have two options. One is the new contract, which is that allows to split profits across multiple accounts. So there could always people say, well, I use processing for this, so I give 1% of my shares to the, well, Tezos wallet of processing, which then hopefully exists. And the other one would be like for the development, yeah, definitely to reserve a part of those 2.5% that the platform gets to a special pot, which then can be like either grants could be given out, which are voted on upon by HDAO, by the community, or like, I don't know, like, yeah, I have no idea what the, like how it concretely works. I guess we have to look at other projects that already do this. I think like Gitcoin or something where like, I don't know, we say we have this concrete project which needs to be done. And so whoever wants to do it, then kind of, I don't know, has to apply or, and then the community says like, yes, we pay, I don't know, 500 HDAO for if this is accomplished. I don't know. And this needs to be, have some kind of, yeah, it needs tools, of course, to make this happen, which is the difficult part. I don't know, maybe it could be done already earlier by some manual approach, but I think the most important part that we need first is to have actually some voting community tools, which then employ HDAO to make this happen, right? So, and but yeah, it's just one for the to-do list. And of course, I don't know if this could be built up in steps, that we first have this tool that we can actually make votes, and maybe having a vote would already allow Raphael to then pay out a certain amount manually until we have figured out a way that this stuff can actually be paid out automatically, like making it more and more autonomous. Yeah.
Yeah, someone said to me like, if you give the power for HDAO holders to vote, they will definitely choose the best direction. That's interesting. Like, but yes, like the division of the profits, for example, from the protocol, like 2.5%, the fees, it can be done in a similar way, which would be done by how this division is made by another organization. Like it would use a similar contract. But yes, like implementing the UI for smart contracts, like how to allow these tools, because simply splitting it is something fairly easy, but the thing is that how the user experience is going to be like, oh, can we use tokens also, so it enters this idea, oh, could this, for example, processing, could they create a DAO, for example, instead of splitting, so maybe we can have, of course it is history in development, but we can have these stages of development of this idea from these smart contracts. But yes, like we were discussing on Discord about the main concerns right now is like how to automate this for contributors. Like there are people who contribute every week to the protocol on development, and there are rewards that also, for example, should be distributed, I believe, for the community. And for example, there are an event objection, which was an independent event from the community from Philippines, and I really think that those efforts and should be like in attention of the DAO, of course. Also, for example, I'm not sure if HDAO would view, for example, in the future, if we need a major smart contract migration, would be the HDAO would be of interest of HDAO, So there are many things that it is the development view. It is important to have this being boiled up, but of course, yes, it must be brought also for vote maybe, and the HDAO will be able to decide, of course. But one of the main things that we are working is indeed a way to automate, like get half of the fees and share to contributors weekly, or because yes, like the organization of like a company like we were talking about, this is not a company, right? It is I mean, Hackathon Lab has some software experiments, but the distribution of like there is not this logic of I like to see a lot of the logic of like bounties and distribute bounties, and not to have toxic work environments. Also, like how we can build these indeed like laboratories and which are open for people to distribute, to collaborate and stuff, you know. So there are many things, many values that I believe we have to bring and to and there is a difference indeed maybe with the other structures of other organization structures, but I don't know, it is a way to receive, right? You when you interact with such a protocol, I don't know, it is a way to create a project somehow, you know, to document your things, and it is another way of monetization, of course, but we have to deal with many things that is like how to be something indeed a creative process, how to so people don't you know, don't burn out and stuff, because there are many problems that is not strictly Web2 related, but somehow is, because many habits come from this. Many of our habits are fed by these social medias still, right? So many work practice, like moral practice, are conditioned to this. So I believe we should try to review somehow all of these, you know, in this concept a bit, have this in mind at least.
Could you make some of the artwork available to be paid or bought in HDAO as well? Would that be something that anybody would want?
Yeah,
artist
that's
wanted
cool.
to
I
accept that.
think I think this would create a more powerful thing in the HDAO community. You know, like auctions with HDAO is something like, because only who has HDAO would be able to get. So I don't know if this would produce something different also, you know.
You could make HDAO the deposit to get into the auction, so that you know that you have a little bit of stake in there, a little bit of money, like 10% of whatever you plan to bid or something.
Yes, like staking HDAO and or farming other tokens would be a way also, like to create this because yes, I get a little paranoid like with tokens like HDAO. I think you is good to hold, and if you want more like fast tokens, in the sense of this, like, oh, you're gonna buy an NFT with I don't know if HDAO yes, I'm just afraid that people lose it, so I'm trying to, you know, because if people lose the access to HDAO, it will be a lower available, there will be less available, so the price will go up also, of course. So there are some strategies for dealing with that, you know, because for example, Bitcoin, I don't know, many Bitcoins must have been lost also, but yes, like there are some experiments in this sense, like trade HDAO for NFT. You know, we have some models for it already.
Can I make a concrete proposal? Because we also mentioned bounties. Because I think what we need is to get HDAO, like apart from what we already have it, like for likes, just to get it started. So how about having a bounty for somebody who builds a site where everybody can log in and do just like a vote with HDAO, just something that where we can see like how many people voting, like on nothing, right? It's really just like, because I imagine like HDAO is accessible like to a website just like my Tezos is. So I want to have really something that just says like click this button and then it registers whatever that I voted and it gets displayed on the page and everybody. So then we all can already see how many active HDAO users we have. And let's say I put up a bounty of I don't know, like let's well, in the end, like whoever builds it, I don't know, I say, do I pay in HDAO or Tezos? Like let's just I will not say an amount yet, but would that be interesting to say like, oh, like does that work as a bounty, saying like, okay, this is a very simple tool, like companion site, there's a button which says sync and then there's a button which says vote with your HDAO, and then it just displays how many people have voted. Because I think, and that core code gets open sourced, and then people can build upon that and maybe add on additional features. Would that make sense? And then, and that task, whoever builds it gets a bounty of, I don't know, 100 Tezos or something. For my part, like, that I pay for. So, okay.
Yeah, that's the idea. Like you build something, you receive a bounty, and
like with the bot, like with the Hic-et-Nunc bot. So I think that always worked, and that was that question before. Like, so is that attractive enough, or how can we coordinate these things? Is that something we have to build a second page for things we would like to have built? And then the question is, who pays the bounty? So in this case, I say, I want this to as a seed, so I'm willing to pay 100 Tezos for that. But ultimately, something like this should be paid from the Hic-et-Nunc 2.5% thing, right? Like desirable features for the community that we need. And so to make it more, like right now, like people just build whatever needs to be done, and they don't get rewarded for it. So if we could boil down the things that need to be done, like almost like going to the feature, maybe that would be an idea. So we have the feature request list, right? So maybe we should add kind of a bounty to that. I think that doesn't work, but then people can actually see, oh, this is a task that needs to be done. And if I manage to do it, or a team of people manages to do this, then this is the bounty that gets paid for this. I always like things that have like can get started tomorrow.
Yes, like the features requests, we follow them and we try to accomplish them, and many of them on the top 5 we are taking some care of it. But yes, like bounties, I believe that people should also keep collaborating. Of course, like people have many different, like you can kickstart something and someone can continue the project. But yes, I believe there is a sort of intelligence work that I don't know how HDAO would capture this intelligence, but I believe it's possible also. Like, and that's it a bit. Like, I don't know what's your opinions about it. About, for example, this, like the metaverse we are talking about, like to develop a metaverse, and you buy land, of course, and you can buy with HDAO, or you can use you can generate another token with HDAO, which will allow you access to the metaverse. So you create another value on top of HDAO also, you know. So I believe we could try to boost some things like that. because like we are in a blockchain, and the blockchain is not going anywhere, and we indeed have to keep thinking strategies to stay on the chain, and interact with other chains, and of course, like for example, in some cases, bring, for example, if payment in the future, or something like that, or integrate one HDAO bounty that I would give is if someone creates a gallery on Urbit using using objects NFTs, I would find it really interesting, because they have landscapes there in Urbit. And so there are many open integrations. I believe that it would be interesting, like NFTs. That's, for example, yes, 3D models, but like WebSockets. I saw someone using WebSockets on Hackathon already inside of an NFT. So what are the possibilities of it? And some of this, we are thinking of having an open call also for this. Like we have a regular process of trying to organize these bounties for contributors, like for developers and media. We are setting these, but we are trying to also make some open calls for projects in this sense, and of course not only engineering progress, but but also artistic projects.
May I? Oh, sorry.
Sure.
No, I always think all these future plans for nice worlds and stuff is great, but I always like things that allow me to make these things in an uncomplicated way. So for me, the highest priority is having the tool that allows then to distribute bounties or discuss bounties or vote on bounties or future plans, rather than working on the future plans, right? More kind of things that help me tomorrow than like things that help me in half a year. So right now I would hope that we focus all activities on things that improve little things on the platform or allow more democratic voting or getting consensus, or yeah, so that would be my personal favorite, right? So for example, yeah, if we could somehow connect feature requests with bounties, that then allows the developers who are now volunteering to actually profit from it, that would make total sense to me. So I don't know, and if I really want a feature a lot, then I can put in either my Tezos or HDAO, like add that to a certain pot. And then of course the question is like, who decides if that feature was properly implemented, right? I mean, there are always these difficulties once you start distributing money, that like who decides if that is reaching the right person or if the work was done. So but
Yeah.
right now I would hope that we get these tools and that the bounties or whatever should be put in, like to streamline that process more and make it easier. And then of course once we have that, we can build other exotic ideas or like think about the future.
I think Numerai can be a good reference for this idea because it is the hardest data science tournament of the planet, completely open, and the people work in bound programs, so has a huge amount of knowledge there in the Numerai group. And also, I completely agree with you, Mario, and I want to rephrase my beginning point. The success of this community directly go the velocity of the website. So my concern about the scale, it's not about to put Hackathon in another shows, but much more about how we can improve the experience from the arts inside there and the servers and the centralized content and the information. We will still need work as a human to scale. I think the revenue of this part of fee can go directly on that, and also in these main dashboards, you need to bring the community to vote in the metaverse and the crazy idea. So I really want to put our efforts in Unblock Gallery to help you guys on that. But I think a dashboard and how to solve the costs itself, it's the Unblock concern about Hic et Nunc, but we really love this platform and we really want to help and protect the centralized entity.
So I guess, one of the points that you can take away from this, Rafael, is that the people want action within the HDAO and to see something happening. Maybe we can set up, as Mario was saying, a bounty. Maybe we can set up some form of voting as well, like on the Discord, to see between the holders of HDAO what could happen. What do you think?
Yes, this is a issue, like the distribution of bounties. It is many things are made manually, and like there is intelligence, and I sometimes I don't see how a computer can indeed like these frameworks that are for this kind of distribution. Like we can try, of course, but this can sometimes disarticulate. It's just a thought, a possibility. That's but it is important to try. But because yes, like the organization, we are trying to is not exactly copy organizational models. Like it is about creating them, and these tools they have to be also carefully designed. Like there are people who should give support on law stuff and give their thoughts on this so it is a bit like legal frameworks for that. There are few, and people who work with that, or are interested in working in that, also should take part maybe in this process. So, you have to discuss this a bit with trying to indeed grow the space, But yes, it is an important effort, but I believe that this has many other responsibilities along, because it is a huge infrastructure thing, like development, smart contract developments. I don't know, maybe we are a DAO pushing this. Okay, it's cool, but the humanity, I don't know. There should be institutions with also contributing in this space, I believe, in this sense. Trying to contribute, it is the word, indeed, collaborative insights.
I think you have.
We are building this together. Some things, like many solutions that NFTs are bringing, like you see some of these institutions, of course, trying to think these questions also. But yes, let's try to do this. We'll try to bring some updates related to HDAO fees, related to the protocol fees, the organic organization of Hic et Nunc and how it is distributed, and possibly these other tools for HDAO distribution also. But yes, connecting them is also it sounds an interesting design, actually. I must admit, to integrate both the fees and all this process with the HDAO, with this large scale token.
There's a lot of people commenting. I'm not showing all of the comments, but there's like at least 20 people saying that they're willing to help and contribute, and that they want to join the Discord, that they have developer experience. As always, like, I think probably the best thing about Hic et Nunc is that so many people are willing to help and jump in. So for sure, there's that part is great. But yeah, I think let's see where things go, and maybe let's find somebody actually commented on Twitter saying that there might be a need for a project manager to figure out how to bring this project forward and to be paid with the 2.5% fees. So there's a lot of there's a lot of ideas coming from all sides. Yeah, maybe even to create a channel just for this on the Discord for whoever is interested in brainstorming ideas and stuff like that.
Again, I think the first thing we need to find is a way to figure out what we want. I mean, who decides what we want, right? So, because yes, there are many possible options, and the beauty of Hic et Nunc in some way is, of course, that it just kind of grows. But with important stuff like this, who has right now, of course, Raphael has the last word, which is great. I mean, it worked great so far, but I guess ultimately we want to find a mechanism where if a certain amount of people want a certain feature, then, and then how do we know that it's that everybody wants it? Or I mean, at some point we will get to a point where some people don't want a certain features and other want it, and then we need a strong mechanism which we can vote upon. And I think that's what we need first in order to figure out where we are heading. So, and yeah, if some people want to help, maybe start discussing this in the Discord group, and I don't know, build a small group of people, and then, I guess that's the democratic process, right? Where you then make a proposal, and then, of course, at the moment it's all open, so it should just be published and then publicized, and then others who might not have noticed it yet then can have their word, and then it will be built, right? So the usual way it works in the world. I mean, yeah, I have a problem with project managers, but I don't know, we need at least some decentralized project manager. So at the moment, of course, it's Raphael in some way, but I mean, it's a tricky thing, right? Because if you give some person then the power to decide where it goes, then you have the problem. Right now, it's all kind of wishy-washy. Things happen great, but once you have a person who decides, then that will also create more conflict and people saying, oh, why did we go this way? So that's why I think we first need that mechanism where, we can somehow manage to agree upon something for bigger decisions that are made. So.
Just make a Discord chat where you have to have at least one HDAO to get in and implement, so you can get rid of the spam. Not everybody can just come in and throw ideas. At least you have a little, $20 worth of thought behind it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Who builds that? So we need for somebody who can build that. I can't. So right.
But Discord makes it easy to do that stuff. So somebody in the crypto community should know how to do that. It's all over Discord, other places. So
cool.
I'm
so
sure that,
first concrete issue, okay, build the Discord discussion group for Hic et Nunc future direction, which has the entry fee of 1 HDAO. So okay, and whoever manages to build that will get some reward, which is not yet decided.
You get a 1-of-1 Mario Klingman NFT.
Yeah, right. Okay, okay, cool. And we can do that. If that's enough, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't even close the machine.
I like that. So at least we have from this, which I'm gonna, by the way, close off because we're on an hour. We have one action point, which is create a Discord channel for HDAO, and the creator will have a 1-on-1 Quasimodo piece. Okay, well, thank you so much for this. I think, like, as always, there's so many interesting discussions. It's always like, work in progress with these. So we'll talk more about this for sure. So thanks to Mario, to Rare Squilla, to Raphael, and to Anblakari for taking the time, and to everybody who's watching and participating and commenting. Like, super appreciated.
Well, thank you for having us again, Nicole. And
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.